So this week we'll be talking about hypertension and heart disease. Stay tuned so we can get into each one.
Hey, how are you?
I am good, excited to be back. So welcome back everyone to Thrive, Heal, Cook.
This week really been weak. I just bombed Russia. Like that was crazy. You were telling me about this a little bit earlier, how like they had their whole arsenal out and basically like they're supposed to be doing peace. They're supposed to be like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. We're done. All right.
They're among
This is
peace
what I
talks.
got.
Yep.
This is what you got. All right, cool. Then Ukraine, like some assholes like they are, went and bombed Russia. Like that doesn't make no sense. So then y'all
Yep.
basically saying y'all don't want no peace, which is exactly what Zelensky was saying when he was here having that conversation with Trump.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And right now, I think the question
So,
for me is like, where does America stand in all of this? So I
yeah.
think that's going to be something for us to continue watching. Where does America stand in all of this? But then also speaking of America, Trump and Elon Musk, there's a huge falling out. Trump basically, I mean, Elon Musk just gave his like partition speech. He's
Mm-hmm.
officially out of the government or officially out of the place that he was put into Doge.
Right.
And now there's something going on where Elon Musk is basically throwing out his cards on Trump. He is, accusing him of being on the Epstein list. He's accusing him of basically, you know, um, uh,
Colluding with
diverting,
Israel.
colluding with Israel and diverting money elsewhere. So
Mm-hmm. And
that's something.
I think that's one of the things that people didn't really like about Elon Musk is like they're like, oh, you're not qualified, you're not supposed to be doing this. But I think he got into it thinking that he was going to do some good. And when he started digging and following the money because they put him to follow the money, he figured out
Literally.
a little too much. And then he
Yep.
was like, look, I can't do this. I got to
Yes.
go. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yes.
this doesn't make any sense. Like, what the
Yep.
hell are you talking about? So I think later on, we're going to see that, like, this was actually, like, this probably is a good thing that he did do this, but we're going
Mhm.
to see that, like,
It exposed a lot. It exposed a
yeah.
lot. And he's a very powerful man. And he's an independent, powerful man, meaning that, you know, his company's worth over, I think it's billions of dollars. So him himself, he's a trillionaire. Depending on where he decides to go from here, will he continue to support America or will he decide to take his business elsewhere? And what are the repercussions of that look like?
These are things that we can kind of look at, we can pay attention to. You can do your own research on the topics that we talked about as far as like news, but let's get into some stuff that we can actually change for ourselves. Last week we talked about getting together a few different ingredients to make a dish that speaks to certain ailments like diabetes and constipation. Now, if you don't have these ailments, you can still eat the meal. You can still make it. You know what I mean? It'll be better for you to like do preventative medicine before you get to the point where you have problems. So we're going to get into that right now. And then after that, we'll talk about a different ailment. So if you didn't watch last episodes, make sure you watch that episode because it's going to give you the ingredients and stuff that you need for this meal that I'm about to show you right now. So let's get into that. All right, so first order of business, we gotta roast the stuff, right? Because that's gonna take the longest. I'm gonna show you a nice way to cut up your vegetables. We're gonna get them in the oven and put this dish together. Let's get it. The best way to do this is to hold it real tight and pull it apart like that. And we're just holding it, pulling it apart. All right, now we've got that out of our way. Let's make our avocado salad or salsa. Okay, so when you're scooping out your avocado, you want to get your spoon into the back of the avocado, twist it all the way around before you start taking it out. If you take it out, then you have the full half of avocado. I need more heat for me, but it's citrusy, avocado-y, creamy, everything that we're gonna need. So the reason why I like to smash the garlic before I chop it is because it releases some of those oils from in the garlic, and it actually tastes a whole lot better. Like, I don't know, but to me, it tastes better. It might just be me, for real. Got our key lime going, and we need our garlic. Kale or whatever leafy green vegetable you decided to get. First, we start off with a little bit of olive oil, some coconut oil, and the garlic. Get that really nice and happy. And then after, once the pot is a little bit hot, you turn up the heat a little bit so you don't burn the garlic first. You want to go low and then bring it up, right? Then after that garlic gets nice and golden brown, you're gonna throw in your spinach, turn up the heat a little bit, or your kale. Turn up the heat a little bit, saute for like a few seconds, and then we'll pull it off. Now what I like to do is throw in a little teensy bit of water, pop a lid on it, and then So this thing is going. What we're gonna do right now, we're gonna finish it off with a little bit of lemon juice and squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on there just to like bring in some of that nice citrus flavors. All right, now let's pull this off. A little taste test. Delicious. All right, so that was fun. I'm really glad that you guys came through and we cooked a meal together. If you made this meal, send us a picture. We want to see what you made. We want to see how it turned out and if you really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I crushed it. Like it was done. Like it ain't have, yeah, there was no helping that. It was gone. It was freaking delicious. So I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yes. And if you made any changes or you put any different ingredients in there, we want to know about that too. We're open. And it was absolutely delicious. It's always a delight to eat Chef Denise's food. She is amazing.
That is fun. So, moving on, we have some other things to talk about, guys. Like, okay, last week we talked about diabetes, diabetes,
Constipation,
constipation, and Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Now we getting into something different. So we talking about hypertension and heart health. So let's get into it. We're going to talk to Chanel, and she's going to give us some pointers on what to do, what not to do, and how we can actually make some better choices. Record. All right, so Chanel, we're talking about hypertension and heart health. Now, I know that there is a lot of things that we can talk about in this, but one question that I have for real is like, we know that this is a silent killer, but
Mhm.
what is the thing that like we can kind of pay attention to that will help us to not let it be a silent killer, if that makes sense?
The first things that you want to focus on is what is the good cholesterols and the bad cholesterols that you're putting into your body. There's a difference, especially with the bad cholesterols. They start to form a plaque around the artery or this kind of like gunk, this like mucus. And over time, it starts to harden. And if you think about like a straw, so if you take a straw and you have a smoothie in it, right? And then the next day you go and you try to have a smoothie without cleaning out that artery, it's like you're really sucking at it because there's a lot of junk that's like causing that straw to be smaller. It's kind of exactly what happens with the artery. So that's one part of high blood pressure is something called arterial resistance. So there's a resistance to the blood that's trying to flow out of the heart into the rest of the body, right? So
Okay.
that backs up into the heart and it creates the heart. It causes something called an increased cardiac output, where basically the heart is squeezing harder to have to flow through these kind of like clogged up arteries. So that's one. The other part of it is kidneys. So the kidneys are involved in something called the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Renin is a type of enzyme that the kidneys secrete, and it basically increases the fluid around the arteries, so that the arteries can start to squeeze that blood flow forward. Angiotensin is a type of hormone that is secreted also from the kidneys, and that helps with basically the narrowing of the blood vessels, increasing the blood volume. Aldosterone is also another hormone that's secreted from the adrenal glands, which are the glands that sit right above the kidney. And it basically helps with sodium and potassium. So this is where the sodium comes in, because a lot of people understand high blood pressure as, oh, having too much sodium, right? And at the end of the day, that's what you're going to end up focusing on, is lowering your cholesterol level, but also focusing on the sodium in the body. Now,
That like the biggest contributing factors to high blood pressure could possibly be sodium. So, what are some of those other contributing factors that like some people probably overlook every day?
I'd probably say on top of high cholesterol, on top of sodium would be stress. That's one of the biggest contributors, because when you look at what stress is, so if you have high stress, you are secreting a lot of cortisone, which that cortisone in turn affects the blood vessels themselves and squeezes again on these blood vessels. So stress is a huge contributor to heart disease and high blood pressure, as well as kidney disease, which kidney disease is, the kidneys is the detox center of the body. That's where we filter out all of our toxins. If your entire, if your kidneys are focused on just detoxing and it's not able to detox these toxins, then it's not able, and it's focusing on just that, it's not able to focus on what it's actually supposed to be doing, which is regulating the volume, blood volume in the body, and making sure that we're secreting it out.
So, how would you say like food impacts our heart health and what we're doing? So, like on a chemical level, though, like what, like let's say I eat a double cheeseburger from Burger King. What is that going to do to me?
I mean, what ain't it gonna do to you? All right, so this is very cliche to say this, but we are what we eat, literally. It's not just when you eat something right now it has to assimilate into your body. So easiest thing I can say, like what you're drinking right now. Um, Immediately it goes into your body. Your body has to take all of those goodies or toxins and it has to distribute it into the rest of the body. So let's just say you have some magnesium, some potassium in there. Automatically, it is going into your muscles. It's going into your blood vessels. It's going into the gastrointestinal system, right? And so it's distributing it and it goes into your organs. It goes into your brain. It goes into your heart, your kidneys. But what is left off, whatever it's not able to assimilate into the body, based on chemicals that we're putting into, that cannot process, cannot be digested or metabolized, that then goes into the kidneys. So the kidneys have to deal with that. The kidneys have to filter it out. Okay, so remember back in the day, right? You used to go to the sandbox and you had this like filter thing, like a sifter,
Yeah, the
and
little
you would
sifter
go,
thing.
right, and you would go and you'd sift out the sand, and what would be left is a bunch of rocks. And after some time, you would have to throw out those rocks because you can't sift the sand anymore. There's too much that's, filling in those holes, right? That's
Is
kind of
that
like,
what's happening to our kidneys,
that's
where
correct.
we're eating all of these bad things that can't really break down?
That's
It's
correct.
not supposed to be in there, and that's probably how people get kidney stones. Yeah.
That's correct. That sifter is like the basement membrane of our kidney. That's what allows for the toxins to go through. So it's like when you pee, if you're peeing out just clear, it's because
Mm.
the sifting mechanism is all blocked up with all of these things that cannot actually be sifted out. So on a chemical level, what you eat, you need to make sure that it's not only assimilating to your body, but it's also being able to be filtered out appropriately. If not, you are basically clogging up the rest of the system.
But wait, I thought your pee was supposed to be clear.
Mm-mm. It's supposed to actually be filtering out, all the sort of the macros that can't be filtered. So your pee
Hmm.
should actually be a little bit yellow. It should be a little bit frothy, unless you have a really clean diet where there's nothing else needs to come out. But most of
Mm.
us don't. There should be, your body is a cleaning mechanism. So
But if
whatever
you're
it's
drinking a lot of water and stuff like that, generally it would be pretty clear.
right, if you're drinking a lot of water and just pure water, It is actually doing a little bit of the opposite. There is such thing as drinking too much water. You're just putting
Mm-hmm.
too much volume in. Whereas electrolytes, that's why there's such a push right now for the hydration packets, liquid IVs, Element, all of these different brands that are marketing electrolytes. People used to say, oh, drink Gatorade if you're sick, right? Go and have some chicken soup and have a Gatorade. Why? Because not just the water, but you actually need the minerals behind it. That's why, like spring water.
Well,
Spring water, go ahead.
they're marketing Pedialyte for adults now.
Yes. Yes. It's
Like,
kind of like
but
it's kind of
it's
like Gatorade.
funny because like when we were younger, like, and we were feeling a little bit off,
Mhm.
instead of going to Gatorade, like honestly, like we used to go drink Pedialyte
Yeah,
because we know like that's what works, you know. But it's funny that you're saying the hydration packets and stuff like that because you know, when we look at Dr. Sabi and Yaki Awaken and stuff like that, they talk about H3O because when you're drinking the H2O, you're not really you're not really able to hydrate your body with that. So I
that's correct.
think why we're using these hydration packets is because we figured out that hey, we need to bind this H2O with something else so then that way we could actually receive nutrients in our body.
The water in our body, you're right, it needs to be bound. When you look at it on a chemical structural component, it is more full bodied if it's H3O2. H3O2 is water that comes from fruits. So if you were to
Mm-hmm.
squeeze an orange, that is H3O2. It is water, but it's fully bound and it is more matured when it comes to the chemical structure of the actual component, I mean, of the actual element.
Okay.
So, yes, our body assimilates better to that.
So now my next question is how can someone start today to make changes if they see that they're going on this road, like if they see that you know they have high blood pressure or they're getting to that point where they might be getting high blood pressure.
Well, I think the first thing to do is to identify what your pain points are. So every person has different habits and has different, like, sort of strongholds. They know what they're doing that they're like, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I shouldn't be having that extra snack or going, that extra time to the fast food store. Everybody knows that, right? But a couple of things that I'd probably say is once you identify your pain points, I find alternatives because these are not just diets. That's the problem with diets is that people go in and say, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to change everything. And then after 2 weeks, you go right back to what it is, right? Because you see a little bit of a couple pounds shed off, maybe blood pressure is a little bit better, and then you go right back to it.
Yeah,
It's
I had
important.
this conversation with someone just yesterday actually because she's like, you know, I'm gonna eat this stuff and I'm gonna make this stuff and then I'm gonna go on my diet next week. And I was like, look, if you go on a diet, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Diet.
Yeah.
You
If
can't
it's
go on a diet.
temporary, it's
You
not going to work. Yeah.
need to put it in your brain that you
Yeah.
are making a lifestyle change.
Hmm.
If you normally eat rice, which I know you love rice, because she's from Laos,
Okay. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Laos. So so I'm like, if you normally eat rice, just make a switch. So then
Yeah.
that way you can actually continue to do this. Like if you like rice, switch that rice to quinoa. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be every single time that you eat quinoa at this
Yep.
point, but you can switch it this day. Then the other day you might eat rice. Then switch it another day. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
then you can transition yourself into a different lifestyle. Because saying that you're going on a diet, girl, it ain't gonna work. It
Mm-mm.
ain't.
No, no. And I think for the biggest things for heart disease and for high blood pressure is looking at what are the things that you are using to season your foods. That's usually where a lot of the sodium gets snuck in, right? So
Mm,
if you are a person if you're a person that cooks at home, you have control over how much you are putting in your food as far as seasoning. Okay, so that's one thing. Another place that sodium starts to sneak in is in what people drink. So the big misconception, that diet is better. Diet sodas are better. Diet this is better. And when you actually look at the ingredients and the chemicals, just like I'm talking about, the kidney has to assimilate. So when you're looking at that high fructose corn syrup, when you're looking at those, sodium nitrate and,
detergent.
not
Yeah.
exactly not. I'm like, that's the first one that comes to my head too. Monosodium nitrate or whatever it
Right.
is. When you're looking at all that stuff, it needs to assimilate to the body and it can't. And so it gets stuck in the kidneys.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
that's another big thing is what you drink. What
I was
that's
doing research about that with like diet sodas and
Mhm.
what actually happens to your body when you're drinking this stuff. Like, I've never done diet anything. For
Hmm.
me, it's like, if I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna have it in a small portion. Like, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
eat a whole tub of ice cream, but I might have a couple spoons. You know what I mean? Like, I might have
Yeah,
a spoon a night, if that. But I don't really do that anymore. But anyway,
yeah,
it's more so about in moderation and
that's
how much
correct.
you're doing it and how often you're doing it. So, like,
That's correct.
also with the diet sodas, that does not break down in your body. So then it creates, like, it gives you diabetes,
Mm,
because when the aspartame goes into your blood, you drink this thing, it tells your brain that, hey, I'm supposed to have some sugar, but
hmm.
then it doesn't dissolve into your bloodstream. So then your brain keeps thinking, yo, where's the sugar you promised me?
Hmm.
Like a
Hmm.
Rihanna song.
Hmm.
Bitch, but I have my
Right, right,
sugar.
exactly. And it starts to fight
So
back. It's starting to fight back. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
because as a server, I would notice that people that drank diet soda, like Diet Coke,
Mm,
they would have
mm,
a picture of Diet
mm,
Coke.
mm.
And
It's like an
everyone
unquenchable
else,
thirst.
yeah, because your brain keeps telling you that you're supposed to have this sugar, but the sugar never gets there. And you know
Yeah.
when the sugar comes in, it goes straight to your colon, it
Hmm.
goes straight down to your colon, and it's just stocked up.
Yep. Just stocks up. Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Now
Exactly.
that's creating disease because it can't pass through. And now you got diabetes because you're drinking a 12 pack of diet soda every
Hmm.
day.
Yeah. Not only diabetes, but like I said, that sodium is going to end up constricting your blood vessels, which makes your heart, puts more pressure on your heart, more pressure on your
Has
kidneys.
to
Your
work
kidneys
more.
cannot secrete. And so now your blood pressure is going higher and higher and higher. One other thing, other than, diet drinks, is um, dressings. This is a huge pet peeve of mine is that people are like, listen, I've changed my diet. I eat salads. And I'm like, okay, my first question is what dressing?
You put
And they
ranch
look,
on it, ain't
they
you?
literally,
Got
literally, they're
that
like, I put ranch. And I'm like, how much? They're like, I douse it in ranch. And I'm like, you messed
ranch.
up the whole salad. You messed up the whole salad.
Like,
And
your
it's like
best
a,
bet is to go with like an Italian dressing,
yeah,
or like you could even do like a light Caesar, like the Italian style Caesar.
yeah.
Like, but it can't be creamy.
True. But again, that's where the sodium starts to sneak in. Because if you
Yeah.
look at these ingredients, and a lot of times don't even all when you look at the ingredient, also look at the serving size because the ingredient is telling you how much sodium is in half a teaspoon of dressing. We use in a cup of dressing, all right? So now you got to multiply that by 8. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you really look at the serving size, look at how much sodium is in
Yeah.
there because even Italian dressing, what I tell people is this, make your own dressing. It's
Yeah.
not hard and you can make it to your taste, right? I think actually, Chef Denise, what's a really great way of making dressing? We have a lot of power that we can take back in those decisions that we're making. We just need to have
Yeah.
the knowledge of
I think, like,
where to look.
simple dressings, if you just want to take a oil and a acid, that's a simple vinaigrette, you know.
Mhm.
I like Asian food, and
Yes.
if I'm doing like a salad, like a everything salad,
Hmm.
which is just like greens and all of the vegetables that I can find in the fridge. I mean, like, if I got broccoli, if I got peppers, if I got cucumbers, chickpeas,
Onions,
onions,
tomatoes.
yeah,
Yep.
all of the things, then I'll go with like some sesame oil. I really like sesame oil.
Hmm.
So, like, some sesame oil, some lime, salt and pepper.
Hmm.
Um, you might throw some garlic in there or
You can
some
throw a little bit of
onion.
honey if you want to, sweeten it up a little bit.
Yeah, I do
Yep.
use honey because honey
Hmm.
is a good way to bind it.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do, you could do honey. Mustard is a good binder as well.
Mm.
So
Mm.
if you want to do, like, like a lemon caper type of vinaigrette or something like
Yes.
that, you probably use some mustard to bind that.
My girl, you're making me hungry.
I know, I'm almost hungry. I gotta get ready.
So yeah, I think that people, take it one step at a time, but you can definitely make small changes and don't think that you have to change everything at once. Just find some things that you want to focus on, one thing a week. I would say first, the
Yeah.
easiest thing, start with your liquids. Start with
You
your
know,
liquids.
you could go on Amazon right now and purchase my journal. Shameless plug.
Hmm. Shameless. Tell them, girl. Tell
But
them.
the journal is a 21-day journal. And the way that I designed it was to help you to create a new habit or lose
Hmm.
another habit.
Yeah.
But it's a play on numbers.
Mm.
So it's 21, but you do 3 days, you have a reward.
Mm.
3 days again, give yourself another reward. Once
Mm.
you do something and you give yourself rewards, a lot of times you're going to want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So if you make your segments short in the beginning because it's a new thing, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard to stay consistent.
Mm.
So do something, reward. Do something, reward. And you make that part longer where
I like
between
that.
the the thing that you're doing and the reward. Now you've done it for 21 days, you've created a new habit.
Hmm.
And it didn't seem like it was 21 days because you kept giving yourself rewards throughout the way. So
Yeah.
go get the
And you,
journal. It's on Amazon. I will put the
what is
link in
it
the
called?
called
Put it, yep.
Art and Journal.
Ooh, I like that.
And it actually has like some of my artwork in here.
Hey. Oh, that's actually, it's
It's right here. I
perfectly
know.
lined up. Perfectly lined up. I'm like, wow. You
So
couldn't
you
have planned
too
that
can
out
have
better.
some prints of my of my artwork.
There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. I
But
love it.
yeah, and it also like it has like little prompts and stuff for you to talk about.
Awesome.
Like, just working on
Mm-hmm.
your habits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
That's
Amazon.
amazing.
I
There you
actually
go. Go
I've
support.
I've made that journal and like got it copyrighted and everything for my birthday last year. So that was my
Oh,
birthday gift to myself that I made.
oh, wow. That's a beautiful birthday gift. Something for yourself and for many other people to enjoy.
Exactly. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't think people do stuff like that for
Yeah. They
like,
should though.
but
They should. It's
I wanted to
commemorating
create something
commemorating your
dope.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Yeah, I think that creating habits and breaking habits is something that you really need to make it a habit, not just something that like a phase or a fad, but it's a tool that can be created and recreated and
Created.
replicated over and over and over again,
Yeah.
um, one at a time. So I'm
I
going to be
agree.
purchasing that for myself too.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. My little sister has it.
Hey, there we
Yeah.
go.
I've been getting her into like journaling and stuff. She's young. She's like, how old is Victoria? I think she's 8
8. Is that what we said? 8?
or 10. I'm
Okay.
28 years older than her.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you're 28 years old. I'm like, are we really doing that right now? You are not 28. I was like, I cannot confirm nor deny, but okay,
No,
8. Okay, I got you. I got you.
I'm 28 years older than her, so I think she's
Okay.
10.
Okay. Okay. That's a great age. That's a great age to start. At that time, you don't have much of a filter, and so you're
Yeah.
journaling straight from the heart, from the mind, from a space that's been untapped,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, I
that's great.
always get her things that like make her think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the last thing I got her was like a robotics thing,
Yeah. Hmm.
like building robotics with solar panels and stuff.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. For my nieces, I've tried to do things like investments. I
Mm-hmm.
will give them pieces that like their mom can hold on to and are going to hold some value later on.
Mm-hmm.
My last thing that I gave my niece was a small, tiny little piggy bank. And I told her as soon as she fills it up, I'll give her a bigger one. So she filled up that one. So we got her a bigger one. I told her, all right, once this one gets full, we'll get you a bigger one. You know what I mean? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to teach her the value of like saving,
Yeah.
investing, and being proud of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
And
the
then, but it
same.
backfired on me because she drew a tattoo on me and she was like, all right, this is gonna cost you $11. And I'm like, $11? You know what I mean? So
Hey,
she was
she
like, yep.
know
She
the
was like,
worth of
pay
her
up.
time.
Exactly. She's like, pay up,
Yeah.
pay up. And I was like, all right, as long as you put it in your piggy bank, I'll pay you. So
Hey, look, she is way further than a lot of people because a lot of people trade their time for dollars
yeah.
and not really think about the value of like their actual work.
Hmm. Their
Like,
intellectual property. Yeah.
yeah,
Or their creative space. Yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, you think that because you're a creative person, you just think that this is normal and like
Mm-hmm.
everybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start speaking to different people and stuff, you realize that like, yo, everybody can't do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
Mm-hmm.
just can't. Like they don't have your brain.
Yeah. Yep. And it's important to share that, you know, for a reason we were given these abilities and this process and the way that we think. And so it's to give that back because everybody else you can learn and you can grow from everybody else too. But we're not going to do that if each person is not focusing on what it is that they have to impart to be able to
Right.
impact others.
Right.
That's how we grow together, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean that's why we're here. We're sharing because like
literally.
it makes sense to do it, you know? Like if I have the ability to speak to a lot of people and I know that because I've spoken to a lot of people and I just like doing it, I know that like people like to hear what I'm saying. For some reason, I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Well, I am very excited to finally, like I said before, you know, to be doing this with you and to be wrapping up. This is our second episode. I can't believe
Oh.
it. Second of many. But
And we're
make sure,
learning.
and
Like
we're learning, we're growing and learning. That's the thing is that we are coming from a place, you know, humbly speaking, we're coming from a place where we are, you know, knowledgeable in our own areas of expertise, but we have so much that we want to learn from each other, first and foremost. But we also want to learn from other people and we want to be able to grow and what have people to watch us on this journey as we are doing this, as we are
yeah.
growing together. So
Like I want to create like a whole community to where like we're growing together. Like the
yes,
THC Club is growing. Like we're doing
yes,
this. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like
yes.
we're talking to people and helping them actually change their life and making them feel better about themselves. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like
Well,
I
we're
remember one
doing
time,
the same thing for ourselves.
yeah, yeah, like I remember I spoke to a guy about drinking diet soda. I didn't really think anything of the conversation. Like, you know, I was just having a conversation with him, making him his omelet. And he
Hmm.
came back to me like a couple days later because I went back to that location. And he was like, hey, like I was really thinking about what you said.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna make some changes about my life. Like, and
yeah.
at that point, I had done forgot about the conversation I had with this man.
Hmm.
Okay. And then I
Hmm.
had to really back in. I was like, oh, the diabetes and the, I was
Yes,
like, okay, okay. So, like,
yes.
you were listening,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's sometimes like God puts stuff on your heart to talk to people in that moment. And
Yeah,
for you, it doesn't seem like a big deal for you. It's just whatever, we're having a conversation. But for that other person, it really is tapping into something that's making them think. And for the most part, people know. And sometimes they're just looking for a confirmation to be
yeah,
like, I needed to hear that one more time, so I can really actually put it into play in my own life. So, you
yeah.
know, when you're called, definitely, be guided by what's in your heart, the purpose that you're here in this life, and don't be afraid of that. And don't be afraid to also to make some mistakes. That's okay. To ask questions. That's, always be a student. um and yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be out there and be
I
different and go
was,
against the grain.
I was always asking questions. When I tell
Mm,
you, one of my teachers in high school, I'll never forget this, Mr. Martin. I think he was like my social studies teacher. He
Hmm.
pulled me out of class and he was like, I might have, I don't know if it was like disruptive or whatever, but he
Mm.
was just like, because he pulled me out of the class. He was like, you know, you're always asking questions. And I don't want anyone to tell you that that's a bad thing. Keep
Mm.
asking questions. Like, don't ever stop asking questions.
Yeah.
And I think that was like some of the best advice that somebody could have given me at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was in the 10th grade.
Yeah.
So so
Yep.
like the person that I am now is kind of attributed to that because like I always ask questions like what these
Yeah.
people were upset with me the other day.
Well, I mean, you're an intuitive person, but you're intuitive, but then you also take that knowledge and you go and you actually move forth with it. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
just sit with the information. You ask questions to
Better
clarify
myself. Yeah.
exactly and then to implement. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing.
So, guys, make sure and tune in for next. We're going to be making a really cool dish. I wonder what it's going to be. You're going to have to tune in
Stay
for next
tuned.
week to find out.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Have a great week.